Does the government work for us or do we work for the government? The government seems to regulate everything under the sun. Tonight, do we really have a free market in America? When the colonists first won their independence from England, they threw off the shackles of government regulation from 3,000 miles away and traded it in for government regulation at home. Soon each of the colonies would replace the British Parliament's laws with their own tariffs and taxes and regulations. But at the very end of the Revolution, right before local regulations were enacted, the market here was truly free. What is a free market? A free market is a system of exchange of goods and services that is free from government intervention or interference. The big government types in both parties here have often contended that the free markets have failed and have actually caused the recession from which we're all suffering today. This argument, of course, is ridiculous and born of ignorance. The federal government enacted laws that encouraged banks to lend where they ordinarily would not, and in some cases forced them to do so. When that didn't work to the satisfaction of the bureaucrats, they used taxpayer dollars to get the banks to lend to those who were not creditworthy. Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac, those two behemoth corporations owned by the taxpayers, effectively told the banks to lend to whomever they could because home ownership was good for everybody, and then sell the debt to Fannie and Freddie. That would be you, the taxpayers. So uncreditworthy borrowers received loans from banks and bought houses. The banks made money on each loan. The federal government bought the loans from the banks. The banks were off the hook. The borrowers defaulted. And the taxpayers got stuck with the losses. You'd be hard-pressed to find any industry or business in America that is not regulated by the federal government. We don't have free markets in the United States, but we do have capitalism. The free market and capitalism are not the same thing. Capitalism is the private ownership of the means of production and the use of such to turn a profit. A free market operates under capitalist principles, but capitalism does not necessarily require, or as we know, even prefer, a truly free market. There are all kinds of capitalism that don't rely on a free market. Crony capitalism, also known as corporatism, is a form of capitalism where the government favors certain owners of the means of production over other owners, and certain industries are assisted by the government to the detriment of others. Enter the principle of debt. Economists as different as Karl Marx and Friedrich von Hayek warned that debt would crush capitalism. Marx wanted debt to be controlled and regulated by the government. Hayek wanted debt to be regulated by the free market. In the land of the free, we have rejected Hayek's free market values for Marx's government-dominated values. Marx and Hayek actually predicted the multi-trillion-dollar debts the Western world is now buckling under because they saw that eventually capitalism that relied on the government and not on the free market would create the conditions where debt is necessary to sustain an illusion of growth. Marx's solution was total government control. Hayek's solution was total freedom from the government. The miracle of a free market is that it sets prices not based on government command or the illusion that central planners in the government can know everything and make perfect decisions, but on actual supply and demand. A free market utilizes the information that each participant within the market has in order to make decisions that are best for that participant. Stated differently, you know when something is a bargain, or you know when something costs you too much, and you can freely decide whether and when to purchase it, except when the government forces you to do so. Well, how can the government force you to buy something? Take the case of Solyndra. Certainly it fit the definition of a capitalist venture. It was a private means of production of solar panels that was attempting to turn a profit. But it was also crony capitalism. And so the capital available to Solyndra was not based on economic risk or reward, but on political calculations. By using your tax dollars to help finance Solyndra, the Obama administration forced you to buy Solyndra stock. You were not free to say yes or no. And now we're all $500 million poorer because of it. And that's just the one case of Solyndra. There are hundreds of others in which the government's Marx-inspired central planners have made decisions on how to spend your money, not based on free market principles, but on pure politics. What will save us from this economic catastrophe is a return to free market principles, and almost as importantly, a realization that the economic mess we are in today is not due to the free market, but due, in fact, to the absence of it. From New York, defending freedom,